It's kind of strange to go and criticize someone for receiving an award. I mean, first of all, they might have not thought they were going to win. They probably didn't. It really isn't going to rock their boat one way or the other. And last point, it's really a popularity contest and all about marketing, which is something that they are very aware of, I would believe. So for Leo Messi to win one more trophy, lose one more trophy, it really isn't going to tarnish or embellish his career one way or the other, especially one like the best. But the problem is not with him. The problem is with the award itself and the people that voted. Look, I understand that many are friends with him and there's a great deal of respect. There should be. There needs to be. He deserves it and he's earned every ounce of it. But if you look at the numbers, if you look at the awards won, if you look at the amount of matches played, it's very difficult for me and for many others too to give an award to a player. Although, let's keep in mind, then I would kind of be going in against my first and most evident argument, which is the time frame in which this award is being it is a criteria or has as a criteria, because Messi didn't play a match. Messi hasn't played a match since the month of October. So we're already halfway through January. So it's basically halfway through October, November, December, almost 2.5, almost 3 months now. Now, does that have any impact on the decision? No, that particular part doesn't. But again, like I said, if I use this, it kind of ends up invalidating what I said before. Because when you look at it from that perspective, well, the award's based on everything that happened after the World Cup, which is basically the month of January to August. Not me inventing things. Look at the criteria and look at the dates. Who had a better year? Now, you can say Erling Haaland, which is true, although his biggest downfall there, and maybe that is what ends up affecting him, and it's kind of unjust. He won everything. He won 5 trophies. 4 trophies this year, excuse me. So when all is said and done, then what? You know what I'm saying? Then where are we? Because is it a popularity contest? Is there a criteria that can be, whatever, I don't care, I'm going to vote for whoever? Well, fine. Then if it's, hey, I'm going to vote for whoever I please, then let us well know. And we'll take it seriously or not, or kind of give it the publicity or not. But that's where people end up not understanding. So again, it's not the people that win the trophies that are to be blamed. They go and they receive, hey, thank you. Okay, fine, great, you know? I mean, it's like accepting a compliment. How can you go and say to someone, no, I can't accept that compliment from you? Because based on, no, you say, thank you very much. And move on. Mbappe is not even in the conversation. Now, like I said before, if there is a soft spot in Haaland's argument or campaign to win this award, is the fact that he played in every single final 2023 and didn't score in those matches. Is it his fault? No. I mean, finals are tight. Finals are played close to the vest, and he wasn't able to find the spaces that he usually finds. And fine, not a big deal. But he got them to that point. Now, keep in mind, again, the hypocrisy in all of this is that the same criteria that they used in saying Erling Haaland can't win an award because he didn't score in finals was also used with Messi, and that was still good enough to put him over the top sometimes. Because keep in mind that was also a time when Cristiano Ronaldo was winning Champions Leagues. He would score in some of the finals, and he would end up winning over Messi. And a lot of times, the legacy of Messi was tarnished because he didn't score goals against Chile. He didn't score against Germany. Remember that? People have a very short-term memory when it comes to that. People tend to forget. People in Argentina tend to forget about those things. That let's go back to 2018 when they were insulting him and hurling insults at him and saying that he didn't feel the jersey. He wasn't Argentine enough. And all of a sudden, all of that is forgotten. Now he's the greatest player ever. Now he's the player that everybody loves and adores because he won. Because he won. He won a Copa America. He won a Finalissima. He won a World Cup. If that wouldn't have happened, I don't think that they would be idolizing him as much as they do now. Oh, yeah, they talk about the attitude change. Yeah, but what if the attitude change came and he never won anything? Now, again, I get into the world of supposition, and again, you see in the world of supposition, you end up finding a lot of clear arguments. Too bad it's supposition. But based on what you're seeing back then and what you see now, the total about face that occurred, you could find some reason in that. And again, it's not his fault. It's not Haaland's fault. It's not Mbappe's fault. It's not Rodri's fault. It's not Kevin De Bruyne's fault. It's not none of the players' fault. It's just the way that the system is established that people end up making these decisions and end up making all of these award popularity contests, just like they are in music. Let's not kid ourselves. Less like they are in the movies. It's about popularity contests and who's able to get the most publicity and who's able to drum up the most support in the media and within friends and within social media as well. Those are the ones that end up winning the Oscars, and those are the ones that end up winning the Grammys as well. So let's not make it sound like the best is just something unique and tainted all in and of itself, and the only entity that is corrupt, maybe a strong word, but is tainted, because it's not. Because all of these popularity contests are exactly that. Let's take them as they are. They are popularity contests. Now, if you tell me that it is an award based on, if you go and you say this is strictly an award that you must vote, and your vote has to be based on this and only this, then fine. Many people that voted decided just put the middle finger up and kind of screw everything. Say, fuck this. I'm not voting. I'm voting for this guy because I feel like it. Then fine. Then say it. And it's totally just and it's totally fine if you tell us, the public, that it is going to be that. And many gave us that message based on how they voted. There's nothing wrong with that. But just tell us it's that now. And then we'll accept it as such. Because it ends up being that. So again, let's not focus our displeasure on one thing and one thing only, which is the players, without looking at the other side and seeing how these awards are set up and how these awards are established, because that's exactly that. So we look at, and now that all ends up also saying, is it just Messi? Is it always going to be Messi? Look, people can be joking with a dose of seriousness, saying, even when he retires, he's going to be winning Ballon d'Ors. Maybe that would be the case. But that ends up leading to another question, ladies and gentlemen, in all of this. Who's that next big star? Who's that player that you say, he's just waiting there in the anchor leg of a 4x100, waiting for Messi to make the turn into the twilight of his career and waiting, sticking his arm out, waiting for that baton to be passed to him so he can continue taking the race on? I'm waiting for answers, guys. I can sit here and wait all day. I can sit here all day long and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait, and we're not going to find it. Nowadays, it's not the case. I mean, let's go back even. What makes this argument even more compelling is if you look at the early stages of both. Fine, let me go there. Messi and Ronaldo. The players that they were competing, fending off during several stages of their career to not win, and for them to come away with trophies year after year after year after year after year after year. I mean, you have Luis Suarez, you have Falcao, you have Pirlo, Ronaldinho, Kaká. I mean, the list goes on, and I mean, Zidane at one point. Mind you, some were in the twilight of their careers, some were at the peak of their powers, some were just amazing to watch. And nowadays, who's that? Nowadays, who is that? Maybe it's because Rodri isn't a really marketable player. Kevin De Bruyne is not a very marketable player, despite his amazing skills and his capability of being a general in the middle of the pitch. But he's not marketable. Neymar was probably the one that many were expecting, and he, well, faded away on a cruise ship. Maybe it's Mbappe, but now he's getting to 25, 26. All of a sudden, we're waiting for him. Maybe it's Haaland, but maybe it's not. Maybe it is. Maybe it's Julian Alvarez. But then again, the way that City looks at him, and if Haaland comes back, he's going to end up being second fiddle again. Although right now he's proving to be the best player for City. I mean, you could make an argument for Julian Alvarez at this point. That could he have been? Yeah, sure. He scored in finals. He was very effective. Maybe he didn't have the numbers of a Haaland, but he was just as effective, maybe even more so in certain facets of play. Who do we start looking at? Jude Bellingham? Maybe. Why not? But then Jude Bellingham, we have to wait and see what he develops into. He still hasn't answered a lot of questions. He still hasn't been the one that has come through, and it's unjust to do so with a player that's only 20 years old. But he's probably the one that looks guided in the proper direction and focused in that goal to not just be a part and a big part of the biggest club in the world, but being the biggest part of the biggest club in the world, which ends up putting you on a higher status and a pedestal that ends up putting you in a situation where every game matters for you. You are the center of attention week in and week out. And not only that, you end up becoming the center of attention in the media and also the center of attention when it comes to the opposition and their strategies. So where do we go? Where do we see things? Where do we start looking for that next star? Because again, like I said, let's not blame Messi. Let's not blame Mbappe. Let's not blame Haaland for what's going on. They've done what they had to do. Now, it's out of their hands as far as who gets elected. You know, it would be wonderful to see one of those other two win something because they deserve it. But the criteria isn't there. So maybe those are the two. Maybe those are the ones that we have to look at going into the future. Because to be honest with you, it ends up being very weird that how things are as well. Because you have a recognition where a player that won the Champions League, a player that won the Premier League, a player that won the FA Cup, based on trophies, I guess, ends up being surpassed by a player that won the French League, that won Ligue 1, and won the Leagues Cup in North America. So now the Leagues Cup ends up having just as much weight in a vote than the Champions League, than the Premier League, even for the FA Cup. So you're telling me that there's more importance in scoring in a final. So it's more important to score in a final of a Leagues Cup than it is to play in the final of a Champions League. This is what they're actually telling me. This is what actually being, if you use the logic of, hey, you know what? It's based on merit. But yet Mbappe ends up being in third place because he did win Ligue 1. Let's be honest. So Messi, the tiebreaker, ends up being he won the Leagues Cup. That is exactly what's being said by FIFA right now. Which many are trying to say, which is a narrative that's being used by many. Hey, by the way, look at the importance the Leagues Cup has now. because the goal scorer, the MVP of the Leagues Cup, ends up being the best in FIFA. Therefore, the Leagues Cup is one of the biggest tournaments in the world. It's going to be sold that way, folks. It's going to be sold that way. Let's not kid ourselves. So, I guess it's time to completely, I would bet it's time to completely ignore these types of awards and just take them for what they are. They're just high school popularity contests. Nothing else.